Hola amigos, I am the Soccer Rudo, and I can assure you of two things right away. Number one is that under this mask is rugged good looks, and that number two under this mask is a guy who loves soccer. I love soccer so much, I've decided to talk about it on the internet. And of course, as a proud hoser, I'll be spending most of my time talking about the brand new Canadian Premier League. So if you're a fan of all things CPL, you've come to the right place. So I suppose a good place to start is to outline the new league, but I know what you're thinking first. Just who is that handsome man? And what is a Soccer Rudo anyway? I know, kinda sounds like a poor excuse of Spanish from a guy who's barely holding down a 60 in his high school Spanish class, but I swear there is a method to the madness. You see, I'm also a big pro wrestling fan. That's where the name comes from the mask. And you see, in wrestling, you typically have a good guy and a bad guy. Well, in lucha libre, Mexican wrestling, your good guys are called technicos, your bad guys are called rudos. So, now you know. And I'll let you know straight away that I'm not your average happy smiling babyface CPL reviewer. Now on to the CPL. And chances are, if you found this channel, you're already a big CPL fan, and you know what's going on, so consider this the quick review, the Cole's Notes version of what you need to know about the Canadian Premier League heading into Season 1. The Canadian Premier League, of course, is the brand new Tier 1 league for Canada soccer in this country. Now, that doesn't automatically mean that CPL is better than MLS or that it's suddenly going to be challenging the top clubs in Europe for player signings. It just means that the CPL is Tier 1 for Canada. It is the top of the Canadian soccer pyramid. There are 7 founding clubs this year for season number 1 of the Canadian Premier League. Working west to east, we have Pacific FC from Vancouver Island. We have FC Edmonton, reborn from NASL, now in the Canadian Premier League. We also have Calvary FC, that is going to be in Calgary. Valor FC plays out of Winnipeg. We have Forge FC in Hamilton. York 9 plays out of the York region in southern Ontario. And as well, you have the Halifax Wanderers FC. And just a note to anyone from, say, Quebec all the way to the West Coast, I know the flag behind me and the logo and everything says HFX Wanderers. HFX is pronounced Halifax. There's nobody that calls this team HFX Wanderers. Yeah, it's written that way. HFX is a pretty common abbreviation around Halifax, but no one actually spells it out HFX. The name of the team is Halifax Wanderers. Please, the name of the team is Halifax. Now, we know that the Canadian Premier League is going to do something a little bit unusual for the typical North American sports fan, and that they're going to have a split season. The teams are going to play a short 10-game spring season that runs from April 27th up to Canada Day, and then after that, from July 6th to October 19th, they're going to play a fall season, and each will have its own champion. Yeah, it's possible one team could win both, but the point is there will be a spring champion and a fall champion in the CPL. And again, that's not an uncommon way to do things, especially in CONCACAF. Plenty of other nations have the Apertura Clausura schedule. Liga MX, for example, probably the most famous, but CPL will follow the same. They'll call it spring and fall seasons. And then at the end of both seasons, when you have your spring champion and your fall champion, those two teams will match up together in a CPL final to crown a CPL champion for 2019. It has not been confirmed either way whether that's going to be a one-game big deal or if we're going to see the more traditional in soccer two-legged series with total goal aggregate to decide the winner. Could go either way. Again, we don't know at this point, but I would have to assume that if you're going to go through the trouble of having the spring and fall champions play off, you're trying to make it a major event, and that probably means having one day for one big event, winner take all, in order to hype things. So I would be willing to bet a few pesos that it's totally going to be the just one game final with the spring and fall champions playing each other somewhere around the end of October. And yes, it is an unbalanced schedule, playing 10 games in the spring and 18 in the fall for a total of 28 games over the year. Naturally, if there were 28 games going to be played, that would make a lot more sense with 8 teams in the CPL because you could build a perfectly balanced schedule, but the CPL has 7 teams, of course, and no, we're going to save talking about Ottawa for another video. So that's the bare bones about the Canadian Premier League that you need to know at this point. There's lots more to talk about. There's the Canadian Championships, CONCACAF League qualifying, the players, the managers, salary cap, broadcast rights. There's so many things, but the fact is we don't have all the answers yet. There are some things we just don't know, and there's other stuff that I just don't have room to cram into an intro video right now, but there's lots more time to talk about those things as we get closer and closer to the start of the season. So once again, if you're somebody who's been following the development of the CPL closely over the last year or more, then you probably already knew everything we talked about in this video. Well, gracias, my friends, for watching anyway. I do appreciate it. And if you did learn something, maybe if you're a little bit new coming on board with the league just getting ready to launch, hey, great to have you on board. Get out, support your local club. CPL 2019 is gonna be awesome. And I know we were a little bit tame here today with an intro video, but don't worry, there's lots more Rudo hot takes to come as we get ready for the season and go throughout the season. Why not hit the subscribe button? Then you'll know when those hot takes are at their most fresh. But whether you do, whether you don't, CPL 2019, it's gonna be awesome. I am the Soccer Rudo, and until we meet again, I wish you and your club many goals and good lucha things.